over Shiv Sena continues, and the Sena versus Sena tussle is back in courts now. That's the big breaking news that we are getting to you. Eknath Shinde faction, the Chief Minister's faction, has now moved the Bombay High Court against the Speaker's decision to not disqualify Uddhav Thackeray faction MLAs. Remember, last week we had Speaker of the Maharashtra Assembly, Rahul Narvekar, say that the disqualification of the 16 MLAs from the Shinde camp was not required. They were the real Sena, is what the Speaker had gone on to say. But why were the Uddhav faction MLAs then not disqualified is the question the Eknath Shinde faction is now asking. Ananya, my colleague, now joining us, getting us more details. Ananya, the Eknath Shinde faction knocking on the doors of the Bombay High Court now.
Well, definitely subsequent developments taking place in the Sena versus Sena war. The latest one being that the battle is now spread to two battlefields. One is the Bombay High Court where the actual Shiv Sena, which is the real Shiv Sena as per the Speaker, the Eknath Shinde faction has moved. In fact, the Bombay High Court challenging the order of the Speaker, saying that if at all it was recognized as the real Shiv Sena, then why are Uddhav Thackeray's MLA not being disqualified? Secondly, another subsequent development has taken place and the Uddhav Thackeray faction has moved the topmost court of the country, that is the Supreme Court, clearly saying that the Eknath Shinde faction is not the real Shiv Sena. It is the Uddhav Thackeray faction which is the real Shiv Sena. The Speaker's order are not correct, and the Eknath Shinde faction people should be restrained from entering the assembly. So definitely the battle is now split to two battlegrounds. One is the Bombay High Court, another being in fact the topmost court of the country. What will happen, whether or not the Supreme Court would be asking the Uddhav Thackeray camp to actually move back to the Bombay High Court, or would it be hearing the particular matter, is something that we'll have to wait and watch for. But definitely
Right.
big political development happening not only in Maharashtra but also in New Delhi with regards to how these matters are reaching the topmost court of the country.
Absolutely, and that's the piece of information that we are getting for our viewers now. Like Ananya was also pointing out, it is a twofold battle that we're seeing as far as the Sena versus Sena war goes. The Uddhav faction has now moved the Supreme Court, challenging the order, recognizing Eknath Shinde's faction as the real Shiv Sena. Why did they refuse to disqualify despite their plea, despite evidence that was put on record is the question the Uddhav faction is now asking. Ananya continues to be with us. Ananya, not only are they questioning the decision of the Speaker and the merits of it, they're also going on to say that this is outrightly politically motivated.
Well, definitely, they have been saying so since very beginning. And if you remember, a few days ago, the Uddhav Thackeray faction had actually, filed an affidavit before the Supreme Court in a pending matter, clearly saying that, the Speaker had met Chief Minister Eknath Shinde just a few days before he was to give that particular verdict. And they've been calling this whole verdict, in fact, politically motivated since the very beginning, since it had actually come out. They had said that they will be moving the top of the country. The petition has now been filed. The clear relief that is being sought by, in fact, the Uddhav Thackeray faction is that the Eknath Shinde faction MLAs should not be allowed to enter the Maharashtra Legislative Assembly. They shall not be allowed to participate in the assembly proceedings, and they should be disqualified. The Speaker's decision is ab initio wrong, and in fact, is politically motivated, is what the Uddhav Thackeray faction has constantly gone on to say, and is still saying. We'll have to wait for all these developments to take place and how this political war, which has now reached the two topmost courts of the country, one is the Bombay High Court, one is the Supreme Court, how will it actually play up? Is something that we'll have to wait and watch for. Poonam.
Right, how both of those courts really come out, and what is it that they observe? We will have to look at that. But as far as the Speaker's decision in the Maharashtra Assembly last week goes, it was the Eknath Shinde faction that was declared as the real Sena. Big Jolt coming to the fore for the Uddhav Thackeray faction, which is why they've knocked on the doors of the Supreme Court. Now, Ananya, do stay on with us. BJP's Ram Kadam now joining us here on this broadcast. So thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. Both the factions of the Shiv Sena knocking on the doors of different courts. How do you think this is going to pan out? The Sena versus Sena legacy fight seems to be never ending.
See, already Honorable Speaker has given very descriptive decision that the name and symbol is with Mr. Eknath Shinde, and his party is the real Shiv Sena. And the same verdict was given by the Election Commission of India as well. So now both the parties have right to approach appropriate courts. So for that matter, Mr. Shinde Group They have approached Mumbai High Court, and Uddhav Sena, they have approached to the Honorable Supreme Court. But eventually, whatever decision has given by the Election Commission of India, and whatever the decision has given by the Honorable Speaker of Maharashtra, that decision is the perfect decision as per our constitution. So nothing more will come out with this both the moves.
Sure. Sure. Legally, whether something comes out of this or not, we'll have to wait and watch. Politically, though, it doesn't really make a big difference to the current government in Maharashtra, and that's really what the BJP is banking on. Ramkadam, thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. Ananya, my colleague, continues to be with us. Ananya, as far as the Uddhav Thackeray faction goes, they've had multiple jolts, both legally from the Election Commission as well. They lost the party symbol. They also now lost the disqualification plea as far as the Speaker went, because it was the Supreme Court that had asked the Speaker to take this decision in the first place.
Well, definitely, as per the 10th schedule of the Constitution of India, it is the Speaker who can act as a tribunal whenever a disqualification petition is moved before it. And definitely, that's what the Supreme Court had said. The Speaker had, taken a lot of time to decide those particular petitions.